Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story?
Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care, I just steal your underwear.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween, Weirdsville. I'm so stoked to be here. I am with my best friend, my what are you? You're my I want to think of something witty, but you're just my best friend, so happy Halloween, man. How are you?
I'm your lost for words.
That's exactly right.
Woo, ghostly companion. Hey, happy Halloween, Bear.
What's going on, man?
Oh, I'm recovering from my Oklahoma trip and all of that fun stuff, and I'm just getting back into the group of the regular regime and getting ready for Halloween, man.
Oh yeah, man. We had a great time.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. We always do.
Yes. And thank you everyone for your support and coming out and having fun with us at the What's Your Beer Story event. It was a good time. So, we are moving into the episode I think you and I really have been looking forward to. And it's the Halloween episode, and it's great. We've talked, and our Halloweens were spent doing somewhat dubious. I wouldn't say it was ill sort of willed, but we had fun. We had fun at our Halloween extravaganzas.
Yeah, we did. We had that great small town Halloween, and we had our traditions. And when we were putting the call out to people to come and join us and speak to us about Halloween, and we have a good response here. We've got the members of the Cutthroat Freak Show, which is our good buddy Emotron. He was one of our first responders.
Yeah, look out.
And Lee.
Look out, guys. You better put your seatbelt on.
Birdshot is also back, and they've brought along Jeremy and Scarlett Storm, who are they're here to share about their Halloweens growing up. And Ori is back from last week, and she's got some good stories. And we brought back Brandon, who was one of our earlier guests, and we were just going to reuse his Halloween story, but we thought, let's just bring him back on, because he also has some news for us, so it's really
really cool.
One of the things, we both love Halloween.
Yes,
as we've stated, it's one of our favorite times of the year for sure. I love Halloween and I love Christmas, which radically different, but those are my favorite holidays. And I loved Halloween when I was a kid because of costumes and free candy, of course.
That's right.
And it was also the spooky night because you would see all the crazy things. You would see all the skeletons and the black cats and all the decorations and all. And, it was so much fun. And you would go on, haunted hay rides and go to haunted houses. Not me, but you'd have all these Halloween traditions and such. But like, one of the things that we have found out while talking to everybody that we talked to is that our hometown seemed to have its own traditions for Halloween, and that seemed to be fairly unique because no one else seems to have done exactly what we did, but similar, but not exactly.
Yeah.
but we'll get into that as well.
Yeah.
But first, let's just typically, Barry, you wanted to share some Halloween facts. I believe.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and this time of year, it's just I really enjoy a little bit more, of the Misfits in my life. The band.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta crank up Halloween a little bit, and
watching horror movies.
Oh, horror! Yeah, every night. Yeah. Horror movies every night. You're building it up, and you're just it's just a great time of year. We kind of like to be spooked in my house. We like horror movies. We enjoy that kind of stuff, and so I came to the. This is straight off of the Wikipedia for Halloween. So I mean, it's got to be factual, right?
Absolutely, 100% gospel truth right there.
100%. But so anyway, it says Halloween or Halloween. I don't know how that is supposed to be pronounced, but there is an apostrophe between the two E's. Also known as Hallows Evening, All Hallows Eve, or All Saints' Eve, is a celebration observed in several countries on the 31st of October, the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Hallows Day. It begins the 3-day observance of All Hallowtide, I guess, All Hallowtide. The time in the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, martyrs, and all the faithful departed. So that's kind of cool. So
even in the liturgical calendar, which is the church calendar, it's about remembering the dead. It's about this kind of the spooky things. Yeah. Although I think remembering the dead wasn't always spooky.
Right. It also says that it's widely believed that the Halloween tradition originated from ancient Celtic harvest festivals, particularly the Gaelic festival and Samhain, which we talked about before. It's Samhain. I mean, that's the way that I pronounced it forever until I was proven to be wrong. But and anyway, so it's a festival that may have had pagan roots, and Samhain itself was Christianized as Halloween by the early church, which is kind of interesting. So we were talking about that too before. It's like that age when you realize that all of these overlapping, holidays or times that we celebrate, you're like, wait a minute. Why is there so much stuff happening at the same time in different religions? And you realize that we've all stolen from the stuff that was before, and you just put something else in its place, and then you celebrate that as your own religion. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to do,
It's, what it is it's great marketing. It's like, hey,
exactly.
you've got a holiday around this time?
Yeah. Well, what do you know? What do you know?
It's amazing. We do too. Oh, you exchange presents and put them under a tree? Dude, we do too.
We do that too. But
of course,
we do it better.
Yeah. And of course, we do the presents because the three wise men, they came along with the baby Jesus. They gave him presents, and of course, Christmas is when he was born, even though it wasn't. He was probably born in summer. But facts. We don't need to get to details. We don't need to be caught up in that. And then of course, and of course, it does fall around, the winter equinox, and that's cool. That's cool. It's just coincidental. It has nothing to do with actual, any kind of seasonal thing or anything like that. And of course, Easter, that's whenever new life is coming back, and of course, that's what happened. When it's not has anything to do with the spring equinox or this festival and the seasons changing. None of them has to do with anything of that, but maybe that's what you guys did. But but ours is like,
we do it totally different.
It's more, it's better, it's whatever. It's it's just all the same stuff but more. That's kind of what it is.
And
more candy.
Look,
it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's how you. I mean, really, stepping away from the religious aspects of it and anybody's particular beliefs. That is how you colonize a culture and you take over is that you take in and you modify what is there.
Absolutely.
And you change it to reflect your own and
Right.
and that's a,
Right.
I mean,
do what works. You got to do what works,
Yeah. So now, of course, we don't, we frown upon that kind of a thing today. We like to embrace everybody's cultures and respect everybody's cultures. But of course, we're talking about thousands and hundreds of, and years ago. So
right. It was different times.
Different times. And there's, it's history. And, but what it is that leaves us with Halloween
And candy.
And trick or treat and costumes.
Oh yeah, man! Caramel apples,
shenanigans.
Oh yeah,
and popcorn balls, dude.
Yeah,
remember
popcorn balls, man. That was we talked.
Old ladies.
Oh yeah, dude. That was the prize. That was the prize.
That was the prized one. That was the gem. You find an old lady who handmade all that. She didn't buy, the candy bars or the little hard candies or anything like that. She would hand make baseball size or softball size balls of popcorn that were basically glued together with like some kind of sugary syrup, man, or caramel or something.
It was something that was wonderful. And a little salt, Oh God, dude. So good.
So good, dude.
Man.
Just pure joy.
Oh.
Just childhood memory.
And this is before this is before we had to worry about other stuff. Getting,
we weren't worried about poison.
Right.
We weren't worried about razors or needles or,
it was an
AIDS
innocent
or
time.
Satan. Anything like that.
Crazy.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. And then caramel apples, and then of course you got your candy bars and, the little ones.
Oh yeah.
And
I always when my kids were younger, I'd always convince them to give me their mounds. They're not going to eat that.
Yeah.
They don't like mounds.
I still
love them, man. It's the coconuts, the almond, it's the chocolate. Oh my God, it's so good.
I can't do coconut, man. I like coconut milk,
man.
like
You
cooking
do?
with coconut milk, but I do not like coconut.
Is it the texture? It might be the texture. It's not a great texture.
No, it's the flavor. I don't know. So no, there's something about it. I used to love it. I liked it when I was a kid.
Okay.
But I liked it fresh from the coconut. I wasn't ever a big fan, but I was never a big. I think it's the shredded fact that it's shredded in those things.
That could be. Yeah. It is. I think that's why I never liked it when I was a kid, because it was that weird texture. But I don't know. I've grown to love it. So I would totally snake my kids out of on the mounds, or I'd steal some Reese's. I love Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Man, dude, that's good stuff. I was always a Kit Kat and Twix.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
man, for sure.
Of course. You can't go wrong with Snickers, And I when I was little, I wasn't as big a fan of the Three Musketeers, but later on in life, I definitely.
Were you ever a whatchamacallit guy?
Oh yeah.
And then
you remember Goo Goo clusters as well?
Oh,
Do you remember those?
Oh yeah. I remember going to the pool, and it would be Laffy Taffy. You'd get your Laffy Taffy. And then you'd get
banana.
And then you'd get your whatchamacallit. I mean, and I was set, dude. I was set.
Yeah, dude. But I will say this, since we're off in the candy corner in Candyland here for a minute. My favorite candy was always toffee.
Are you serious? That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
I love it, dude.
You can't get it everywhere anymore.
You can now. You can go into a Walgreens or CVS or drugstore like that, and you can get them now. You can't get them in the 4 slots like we had growing up.
Oh, it's the big one, right? The bigger one?
But it's the big one.
Yeah.
But still, who cares?
Yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, it's more toffee to eat. That's so funny. You're one of the only people that I know that love that candy as much as I do, and I didn't even know it.
Passionately love that, dude.
Damn.
When I moved from Oklahoma to North Carolina, and I would look for toffee, and of course I wouldn't find it. whenever I would go, I would tell people about Toffee. It's like I was trying to establish a new religion, right? I would tell people about Toffee.
I can get into that.
It's this little, this toffee cup, this little shell, like a little half cup of toffee, and then it's got an actual hazelnut in the center.
It's so good.
And then it's got chocolate and then a chocolate hazelnut.
It's gooey
cream on top. Oh my god, it's so good! It's so good.
Gooey, and then you got the crisp of the hazelnut when you bite into it.
Yeah, when you're right there in the center, dude. Oh man, and it's got that thin toffee.
Yes,
that is so like it's delicate, but it holds it all together, dude.
It's so good.
But I would go and I would find them. And it's usually like at a 7-Eleven or something. I go to a gas station and I would buy whatever they have, and I would take it with me. And I would pack it in my luggage and fly back, and then I would hand it out to my friends. Like,
you got to try this.
Take this.
You have to try this.
Enjoy this. Go slow because this is a limited supply.
That's great.
I can't eat them all. I want to eat them all, but no, I'm sharing this pure joy with you, and everybody would be like, "Oh my god, it's so good! It's so good!"
Oh, that's great. God, man, yeah. Well, you couldn't find them for a long time, and then once in a while, every time I spot them, though, I get them, dude, because it's one of those things where you're like, I need this to live. Yeah, I need this to enjoy.
I will eat myself sick on Toffee.
Yeah,
I have to. I have to not do it anymore because I easily will do that. And but anyway,
that's great. Yeah.
So anyway, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. This
is kind of what the episode is going to be like. We're going to be doing a lot of like just wandering around and reminiscing and having a good time. Another tradition there in our hometown that the one that like we're just blown away that nobody else seemed to do, but was integral and very, like hardcore in our hometown was when you got to middle school, when you got too old to dress up, and because you weren't cool, it wasn't cool anymore to be at that age to dress up and go trick or treating. What you did is you joined the whole other level of society.
Yes, and
you participated in the thing that made you a man, the shaving cream wars.
Yes, covert
shaving cream fights.
Absolutely, yes. And you did it.
So what?
And you did it with your buddies, and you never knew how the night was going to go. It was just, we're going to get together, and we're just going to get all the shaving cream that we can possibly carry, and go nuts.
Yeah, and you just go and you find your friends, and you take, you would cover each other with shaving cream.
Of course.
You would modify
the first thing you do. Yes.
Yes. You would modify the caps. And you would just
that's right.
Spray each other and throw balls of shaving cream and run up and hit somebody like a cream pie in the face.
That's right.
With just shaving cream, and you'd be covered with shaving cream at the end of the night. And of course, this was, it wasn't necessarily illegal, but the cops would they would chase shaving creamers around.
Yep.
And so you would have to run from the cops. You'd have to keep up with everybody and find out, the cops are already over here or they're over there. And, everybody had the systems, and you typically stayed within your age group, of friends.
Yeah.
But you had communication with the other kids. And you would just wander around town in groups of your friends trying to avoid being spotted by any parent or authority figure.
Yeah.
But then attacking all your other friends. And it was fun. It wasn't harmful. It wasn't anything. You would get normal shaving cream. Only the dicks would get menthol, because
that's
menthol
right.
would sometimes sting if it got in your nose or eyes or ears. Those were dicks. And there was a couple that were probably there in our queue that I can name that would get menthol. But anyway, but we did this, and you would run around and hide, and it was so much fun, man. It was so much fun. So we didn't really pick toilet paper houses because, we didn't have a lot of trees there.
Yeah.
So that just wasn't part of the tradition, and the shaving cream would just go away by itself almost the next day, just water away or whatever.
Yep.
But, and then the high school kids, they would shave cream, but they'd drive around. They'd also have eggs, and they would throw eggs sometimes at maybe the middle school kids with shaving cream, but usually probably at each other.
Yeah.
They go egging.
Right.
And now that's where it got, you could get in trouble, because if you hit somebody's car with an egg and they knew it was you, Apparently the egg would like do something, ruin the paint or whatever. I don't know. But then you could get in trouble. But nobody ever got in bad trouble. You would just get your shaving cream arsenal taken away. You get sent home because they wouldn't put you in the back of the car because you were covered in shaving cream. They didn't want to clean that mess out.
Of course.
So, but but it was just a threat, but man, it was so much fun.
It was
so
great.
much.
It was great. We had a lot of memories, a lot of great memories. I mean, it always sort of seems to evolve around these holidays or these celebrations that you get together with your friends, and we still do it. We have friends that have Halloween parties, and we go and we hang out, and we enjoy each other's company, and it's a lot of fun. And so that's really kind of what it's turned into us now that our kids are all older and they don't want to be out trick or treating, So it's good. It's good, and man, we got a great. I think it's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah. So like we said, we've got. We got a good variety of guests here, and everybody's got some great stories. And we're gonna kick it off by talking to the Cutthroat crew, Cutthroat Freak Show Sideshow crew. We said we caught them on a day off. When they were on tour and they were in Detroit, and we spoke to them, and we spoke to all four of them at the same time over two phones. So it gets a little weird sometimes.
It gets crazy.
Some feedback, some loop, but it was so much fun.
Yeah,
and it's like we had a great long conversation and just trying to cut out the best bits and share those with you guys. But yeah, so it starts off with our buddy Emotron, and it's always a pleasure to talk to him. He was one of the first people to reach out when he was like, "Yeah, man, we'll talk." And then of course, with him is also Jeremy, who is the leader of he's the founder of the Cutthroat Freak Show, and Lee Birdshot. As we gave Lee a new nickname.
It's a great nickname. It's a great nickname
during this. Hopefully it's fixed. And then and Scarlett, and who is she's a clown, and she's literally she does the face paint and everything.
Yeah.
And does the performance and stuff. And I missed them when they came through town. And which was regrettable, but we were doing late interviews that night. But I did catch a few years prior Scarlett and some of the others performing in the with the Thunder Snow Cone group, and they also team up with Cutthroat and do stuff. So really cool stuff, old school, sideshow, freak show kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's kick it off with Tron, and then we'll be speaking to Jeremy, and then Lee, and then Scarlett, and then they'll be they'll be shifting in between after that. But you'll get to just to know associate the voices with the name.
So I guess I wrote down a couple things. I know we're wanting Halloween as childhood stories, and I actually just talked to my mom a moment ago, asking her if she had anything that I didn't write down, and she didn't think of too much to say, but I guess one of the most memorable things as attire, dressing up for something for Halloween, that I remember as a kid was one year my mom dressed me and my sister up as Raggedy Ann and Andy. It had to be like 1987 probably. And my mom is completely obsessed with Raggedy Ann and Andy, and currently in their guest bedroom in Georgia, she set it up as there's nothing but Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls in the room, clocks, pictures and picture frames of Raggedy Ann and Andy. So I guess that was kind of a weird thing to be dressed as by your mother on.
Yo, that's funny. I didn't realize you were going to talk about this. I think it might be like a parent thing with parents their age, because I'm pretty sure my mom also dressed me and my sister in Raggedy Ann and Andy costumes for like one of our younger Halloween years when we were real young.
Who was Andy?
Oh shit! I don't remember. I don't know. We were both just little. We had little overalls and like yarn hair and little clown faces. That may have been the first time I was ever dressed up as a clown.
Oh wow!
Oh, definitely my first time as a clown too.
I think my sister also may have had a Halloween as Raggedy Ann, because I know she had the Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls and books when we were really little too. So that would make sense. That's crazy though. That's I guess that's kind of one of those cultural phenomenons that has like kind of just kind of wafted away. People don't really talk about Raggedy Ann and Andy anymore.
I'm constantly seeing them in like thrift stores, and some of my friends' houses have Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls in them.
I thought maybe Chucky did away with them, but
yeah, he's the evil Raggedy Ann and Andy.
So I guess another thing that I wrote down was as a kid, I remember my parents felt maybe a little bit too lazy to take us out on Halloween to get candy. So they took us to the store and like bought us all whatever candy we wanted, and we didn't have to like dress up that year or like, go walk around the fucking neighborhoods of Ottawa, Tennessee.
No tricks, just treats.
Yeah, just treats. No costumes. Probably saving on those costumes, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely, the last, I guess, week has proved my processed sugar addiction. So I've been like amping up for Halloween, sticking all the candy in my mouth. I had mud shits this morning, shitting out all the candy I ate yesterday.
Yeah, I got one. When I was a little kid, when I went trick-or-treating, like, of course, the little snap on the back of your mask would break off halfway through. But that wasn't the big concern. While we were walking around in Los Angeles, or the suburbs of Los Angeles, people would just drive by and throw fireworks at us. And like, we got hit by them a bunch. This is when I was like 7, maybe 8 years old. And we just got hit by fireworks all the time. Those fireworks weren't even legal in California. They're on a class law. And they were hitting us with like black cats and stuff. Like man. Shooting bottles at us as little children. So that's the way I spent my Halloween as a child, like running from fireworks and trying to grab the king-size Snickers.
What'd you learn from that?
What did I learn from that?
That fireworks don't hurt?
Yeah, fireworks don't hurt. Man, I could put them down my pants and it's fine. Where I came from, the police just ignored children for the entire season. And so we fucked each other up.
One of my earliest memories of childhood Halloween was in Mississippi. I was about 10 years old, and we're doing the trick-or-treat thing. And one of the houses that me and my cousin had went to, we knocked on the door and no one came. And we go back to the truck. This ain't like, neighborhoods with houses next to each other. This is out in fucking rural Mississippi. So, you got to drive like a quarter mile, half a mile to the next house. Mm-hmm. So we go back to the truck empty-handed. And my dad says, you go back to that house and you kick the door till they come out. So me and my cousin, we're 10 years old, cowboy boots, because we're cowboys for Halloween. And we start kicking this fucking door and yelling, track or treat, until eventually this couple comes, jerks open the door, and just like dumps whole Hershey bars into our fucking bags. Like, get the fuck out of here.
It worked.
Oh man, it would have been.
Oh, it
It would have been like so much.
One of my favorite. Go ahead.
It would have been so much better if you had been, instead of Cowboys that year, if you had been cops, just kicking in the door.
You have to tell us if you want. Well, one of my favorite childhood Halloween memories is me and my father went and rolled the house of one of his cousins. And I must have been like 12 years old. So me and my dad were rolling his cousin's yard in the house, and we can see his cousin through the big bay windows in his underwear, watching TV, drinking beer, not having a fucking clue what's going on. So we roll his yard. And then the very next night, my dad says, yo, my cousin Trent thinks that it was our cousin Scott. So we're going with to roll Scott's yard. So me and my dad go with this guy. We just rolled his yard the night before. We go to his other cousin's house, and it's a trailer. So we're like, throwing toilet paper rolls over the fucking trailer, just rolling it good. And one of them, either my dad or his cousin, hands me a jar of peanut butter and says, find something to do with this. So I break into the car, and I just start shoving peanut butter into the tape deck.
Oh my Lord! Oh, how old are you now?
My dad and his cousin are like, "What'd you do with the peanut butter?" I was like, "I put it in the tape deck." They were like, "No." I was like, "This
How old were you?
Do what?
How old were you when this happened?
How old were you?
12.
Oh man.
That's
good
great.
stuff right there.
But into adolescence, as you might can imagine, got with my own crew doing Halloween shit. So, there was like 1 year where I took 3 of the cheerleaders from high school out for Halloween, and I was Zombie Jesus, and they wore their cheerleader outfits, and they put on zombie makeup, and we went around town like Walmart and shit as Zombie Jesus and his zombie cheerleaders. And I'll send you guys a photo of this later on so you can use it. But there was this one guy that we went to high school with that we decided he was the target every Halloween. So every year, from the year when we were 15 to 18, we rolled this cat's yard. And we had to start doing it later and later every year. The first year we just throw toilet paper rolls. The next year it's toilet paper rolls and maybe bash the mailbox a little bit. And his family kept staying up later and later. Till finally one year we did it at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've got buddies throwing toilet paper rolls over their house. We're rolling all the trees or whatnot. We went and bought 1,000 plastic forks and stuck them upside down in the ground because we had noticed that the last year they had learned that they could clean up their yard by mowing the yard with the lawnmower. So this time when they went to clean up the yard by mowing it with the lawnmower, they had to mow plastic forks sticking up in the ground. And then our coup de grace was we set off a round of 1,000 black cat fireworks on his parents' window and left. And it turned out it broke the window. And they had to come out and see all this fucking mess in the yard. And the next day they come out to mow it and clean it up, and it's just upside down plastic fork mess all in the goddamn yard.
Diabolical.
That's great.
Man. Yeah. That's so good. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now to any parents out there. We are not responsible if your children pull pranks based off of stories now being shared on this episode. We're legally absolved. So.
Yes.
Y'all want to talk to Scarlett about some Halloween stories? She ain't got much time in.
Oh shit! I don't know. I don't know if I have anything to follow that up. I just I guess I'm curious if anyone has ever gotten the like the dreaded drugged candy or razor blades or anything like that they always warn us about. And I've never heard of anyone having any weird funky shit in their candy. No. And I want to know if anyone got any like dosed candy and had a real weird time as a kid. Because I never did, and I was always kind of hoping.
Yeah. Now I would be hoping for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, like, no one's giving away free drugs out there. Come on.
What are you, a bunch of idiots?
We were, I remember as a kid, we were warned to not take any, the little paper tattoos, with the blotting paper tattoos for Halloween or any other time, because, of course, that was LSD. Now, I don't think LSD ever really made it to our town in Oklahoma of 5,000 people. At least not enough to where people would pass it out on Halloween on little blotting papers. But yeah, but they definitely had the where you could take and get your candy X-rayed if you wanted. But we also,
that's right.
I mean, we had to crack it open and like make sure there wasn't needles or razors or any of that bullshit in there. Just
Yeah, I remember my mom carefully inspecting the wrappers and making sure. But yeah, we lived in a small town, so a lot of that was just stuff that would happen in the big cities, and then then it would trickle down to
or the next town over.
Or the next town over, yeah, right. That's crazy though.
I think that was like one of the like ghost stories or like spooky urban legends surrounding Halloween, because I grew up in a small town as well, and we never had anything weird like that happen. But it was always like well, you better be careful, because what if it does? It was like one of the things that made it kind of more exciting was like, oh, we might get some fucked up shit. Yeah. But the most fucked up thing that ever happened was like the people that gave us raisins or like bags of carrots, because no kid wanted that.
Yeah.
No shit.
We had a bunch of old ladies that would make, and this was my favorite thing to get on Halloween, but they would make popcorn balls with like,
that's right.
Some kind of sugar syrup or something that held them together. I always loved those, but like then they stopped making those because those were prime candidates to because little old ladies are going to put shit in whatever they make for you and hand out. Everybody knows that.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah. They're the ones with the best drugs.
Yeah. But they also, there was a time when the satanic panic was huge. And so people kind of pulled back on celebrating Halloween and because, it was satanic. And, we were, Oklahoma being, super conservative and religious, the buckle of the Bible Belt, that was very serious business. And we didn't want to have anything to do with that. So that's why they would have like, they would start doing... Instead of walking around, they would have church parties. Or, some places would you would get cars in a parking lot and people
trunk or treat.
Get trunk or treat. Yeah, that's what it was called.
When I was an adolescent, me and one of my buddies in Mississippi, we used to go down to a bridge a few miles down the road from our house, and you can look this up. It's on Dateline NBC. It's 3 Mile Stretch Road in Ellisville, Mississippi. We used to jokingly spray paint satanic symbols and shit, and it made national news that there was a fucking satanic cult in Ellisville, Mississippi, and it was just me and my buddy spray painting satanic symbols under a bridge.
That is so good. Knowing you now, that's hilarious.
That satanic panic was real.
Yeah, it was created by you. That's great. That's fantastic.
Just jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, people lost their shit over that, man. Like,
yeah, it was for real.
All sorts of stuff. Anything that was vaguely, like just not evil per se, obviously, evil stuff, but if you think like people would get bent out of shape over Dungeons and Dragons because those are real spells and they can conjure real demons and all this shit.
It's kind of like
and like
you might die in an oven.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how everybody thinks that every celebrity's a part of the Illuminati now. Like everybody's looking for clues. It was kind of like that. but on a bigger scale, people were losing their minds about the dumbest stuff, you know, like just the dumbest. Oh, that's satanic. You're like, what? Like, how is, you know, a children's cartoon satanic? Well, you know, you got to look for the, you know, it's all backwards. Everything's backwards.
Yeah. You got to play the record backwards. It's a true satanic.
Right.
Good time.
Isn't that how you learned everything you know? Is by playing every record you got backwards?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
That's what I learned.
That's why you're
That's why they got rid of records and made CDs, because you couldn't play CDs backwards anymore.
the Christian conspiracy.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's why vinyl went down in the 80s and the CDs rose up in the 90s, you know, because they cut off that, you know, the evil music playing backwards to hide the hidden message. We've discovered it here on the podcast.
I'm all out of childhood stories, but I've got some adult Halloween stories.
Let's hear
Fire
it.
away.
All right, so I said on the last podcast, I mentioned trimming marijuana in Humboldt County up there in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
The second year I worked up there, I worked in a kind of off the grid cabin on top of a mountain, and there was about 10 or 15 of us living in the house and trimming throughout the day. And I guess it was split between English speakers and Spanish speakers, and most of the Spanish speakers could speak English as well. But there was this one girl in their crew that I think the only person that couldn't speak English. And we all got along with her and whatnot. And we were friends. Everybody in the house was friends while we were working and whatnot up there. And it was very interesting, I guess, around Halloween when we were up there. I guess there was about a week where she started acting really weird and just like standing up and like looking around the room and then sitting down and then like repeating that all day. And she had some very, very interesting things that she was doing when she kind of seemed like she was all right before that started happening. And I really became concerned, and a couple of her friends became concerned. And there was one point in time where I asked the friend that she came with, I was like, "Hey man, is your friend all right?" She was like, "Yeah, I think we just like need to go on more walks or something like that." So I guess one day after feeling all of this weird energy from her friend, you know, we were working in the living room trimming weed, full house. Everybody was trimming. I think she was smoking a lot of weed too. And I think in Spain or France, where she was from, I don't think that they had that strong of weed as the stuff that we were trimming. And she was definitely taking bong rips of like finger hash leading up to the incident I'm about to tell you. So we were in the room, all of us working one day, and she gets up and she grabs her shoes that were right next to me. And her energy was just really weird and really wild and very different from what it was the days leading up to that and the months leading up to that. And she walks into the kitchen with this energy, and I hear her open up the kitchen drawer, and she was fumbling around in the drawer with cooking utensils and whatnot. And I can play all of this audibly in my head at this moment. Just the sound of cooking utensils in the drawer, and then after that, she started like screaming the most like horror movie scream that I've ever heard. And I fucking jumped up and ran out of the room. Evidently, she picked the largest knife in the drawer in the kitchen and stabbed herself with it.
Oh, shit.
In the room that was next to us that we were trimming in. And that's something that really freaks me out to this day. What led her to stab herself in the stomach? It didn't seem like she wanted to kill herself, but for some reason, I feel like she was possessed by something and she wanted to relieve herself from that possession or find some way out of the situation that she was in, whether that be like the physical situation she was in with us or like the emotional situation or that she was dealing with or whatnot. But
wow.
Yeah, that happened around Halloween in I think 2013 or 14 it was. Did
she live?
Yeah, luckily there was someone that was served in Vietnam that called us a bunch of pussies, and he was like, she wanted to kill herself, she would have stabbed herself somewhere else, and he just like picked her up and drove her down the mountain and dropped her off at the hospital there in town. But yeah, she lived. She wasn't invited to come back to work with us.
Yeah.
And I saw her friend a couple years later and asked about the girl that stabbed herself, and she said that she was living in France and was, you know, a lot better mentally.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a very interesting Halloween thing around Halloween that happened to me.
Hey, Tron, I don't think we talked about this. I don't think we asked you about it before, but are you aware of how many people have gone missing up in Northern California that work for growers up there?
Oh yeah. I've watched that documentary, Murder Mountain, which
that's crazy.
Is about this subject. Actually, one of the guys in the documentary, Douglas Fir, he's referred to as the smuggler in the episodes. I worked for him and his family in my time up there. So yeah, I got really lucky with the family that I worked for, and they were all pretty sweet to me and took care of me, and were not interested in killing me after I got done working for them.
Well, that's good.
But honestly, I think think a lot of the documentary talks about the war on drugs. I know we talked a lot about that in our last episode, but how the war on drugs, especially up there, a lot of the hippies felt like it was a kind of violent thing, that the CIA and FBI were coming in with helicopters and cutting down all their plants, you know, and a lot of those hippies like left town, and that opened up like that whole area up there for you know, the real OG gangsters and cartels to come in. And I think honestly, not to talk shit about cartels and OG ass gangsters, but I really think that that had a lot of part in all of the violence and all of the darkness coming into this medicinal realm of Humboldt County or the Trinity counties up there.
Anytime you're the first at doing something, which they were on a big scale, because I could remember, gosh, man, way before it was legal, that was, everyone knew that was a place to go to get the real deal stuff, because at that time they were putting out, you know, just mind-blowing stuff. Like they were at the cutting edge of the plant, you know. And so anytime you're doing that and you're the first one, it's going to be cowboys and Indians. Survival of the fittest, you know. And I wanted to get your take on that, because
honestly,
you were there, so you know.
I mean, honestly, it still felt that way when I was up there from, I think, 2012 to 2017 or 18. I worked every season. I would migrate out there, and it definitely felt that way out there, like the Wild West, no rules. I picked up some hitchhikers one year that were trimming in Southern Oregon, and they said that the cops in town got paid to leave, and there were people like getting shot at, murdered, run over by cars.
Wow.
All sorts of shit like that. Happy Halloween, y'all. Happy Halloween.
Right.
I have a story about a similar area.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Oklahoma, and this circus was on a very small circus. Was on a tour, running through, and they picked us up in Oklahoma. We just jumped in their moving truck that they had bought. Like one of those yellow ones, or like a Ryder truck, or a U-Haul or whatever, and rode us from Oklahoma all the way up to Humboldt to go deal with their circus. And like, I've got some background in taxidermy, and so we were fixing old stuff from like the 1980s on a circus sideshow.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we could do that. We fixed all that. But then we got done, and then we had to figure out how to make money beyond that. And so we eventually met somebody that led us to a farm, and we messed around with that. And then we got done with that. And then we met somebody else that led us to some fire cannons. They're just building weird shit out of propane and shooting 40-foot fireballs in the air. And they had just got a contract to go blow fire cannons for Slipknot.
Wow.
And they were going to do that in Iowa and Wisconsin.
Wow.
So that's where I rolled, because that's getting me closer to home. But we went to Oklahoma. We went to Iowa, and middle of a fucking cornfield, Slipknot's big fucking thing. And they needed to have this big field full of fire cannons. So we had to roll from Northern California all the way to Iowa. And these crazy assholes filled a big trailer full of propane tanks and all kinds of propane effects, pulled by a truck that had a teardrop trailer with no wheels in it. They just one ratchet strapped it in.
Holy shit.
And that's where I lived on the way from California to Iowa.
Oh my God.
Running down those crazy ass hills with this crazy fucking redneck, like with a fucking trailer full of propane and propane accessories, like on these crazy hills. And this guy drives way too fast. If that ratchet strap would have come loose, this bullshit half-built teardrop would have fallen on the highway and probably landed in some shit, and the fire just blown us all up, like right on the side of the road. We made it and landed at Slipknot Knotfest, the first one. And played a metal show where we just blew off fucking propane. We burned 10,000 gallons of propane on that show.
Wow.
Happy Halloween.
That was supposed to be my ride back to the halfway point of getting back home to Oklahoma.
Yeah, right.
Nah, we went back with them. It was real fun.
That's great.
The reason I asked about where in Oklahoma is because that's where Barry and I are both from. So,
I lived in Oklahoma City for 6 years.
Cool. Yeah, we lived we grew up in a little town called Kingfisher, which is just north of Oklahoma City, about 45 minutes. So we spent a lot of time in there in Oklahoma City because there wasn't shit in Kingfisher to do.
Yeah.
So.
No shit.
Yeah. Oklahoma's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that's what they say. That's what they said.
Hey, man, it's on the license plate. And that's about the most we can brag about. You know, I mean, come on.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's not great. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
We gotta take pride somehow, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
It's not all they got.
Yeah, we're okay. You know?
Okay.
That's wild, though, man. You're basically writing on a potential massive bomb.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. And this dude cannot drive conservatively. He's just bombing hills with a fucking big trailer full of propane tanks. Like, just, woo! And I'm inside of the teardrop. There's only one ratchet strap holding it onto the trailer.
Wow.
That teardrop did not have wheels. He just one ratchet strapped it onto his truck. And that was the only empty space for us to get where we were going. So, yeah, like, wow. I was thinking I was going to die the whole time. I'm still here.
Yeah, there you go, man.
That led to, Slipknot shows, and then eventually we got to Halloween, and that was cool.
2011. Me and my buddies back home in Mississippi, we used to put on this thing that we called the Ellisville Bash. And we called it that because the town was Ellisville. Mm-hmm. So we call it the Ellisville Bash. Makes sense, right? Y'all with me there? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So you guys have seen parties at movies that you thought, that's impossible. Parties are never that fucking lit, right? Well, the Ellisville Bash put those to fucking shame. It was out in the fucking woods in Mississippi, and there would be 1,000 people for a fucking party.
Nice.
So one night, we're doing a Ellisville Bash, and somebody steals my guitar. And I've got a one-of-a-kind guitar. I've got a 1997 patent pending PBEVH Wolfgang Special from the Meridian plant in Mississippi. And somebody stole it. So I immediately put the word out. I'm gonna fuck whoever stole my guitar. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. And I never see it again for 8 goddamn years. I wouldn't even post on Facebook. I'd be like, it's been 3, it's been 4, it's been 5 years. Ain't nobody seen my guitar yet. No one's seen my guitar yet. And I had this one friend that was a drilling consultant for Saudi Aramco. And I would get text messages from this dude from all over the globe where he would be like, is this your guitar? And he'd send me a picture of a guitar similar to mine. I'd be like, no, mine's a 97 patent pending, one-of-a-kind, solid black, no trim, no other color than black. And every couple of years I'd get this. So get this, guys. Last year, I get a text from this guy, and it says, is this your guitar? I said, let me see the back of it. He sends me a text. This was in October of last year. He sends me a picture of the back of the guitar. I said, oh, that's my guitar. How much? He says, it's $450. I said, I'll buy it. He goes, I've already bought it. It's on the way home. So my best Halloween story is that my favorite guitar of all time got stolen on Halloween 8 years ago, and my friend found it in Waco, Texas, of all places.
Wow.
Yeah. A guy was listing it on Facebook for sale, and he spotted it, and he goes, that's Lee's guitar right there. Bought it, sent it home.
That is wild, man.
That is wild.
Like a baby.
Wow.
It's like It's like if you lost a pet and the pet found itself on its way home 8 years later.
It's like if your pet died and then come back home.
Well, that would be very Halloween if your pet died and came back home.
Yeah. Yeah.
With guitars.
Pet cemetery.
But that's an amazing story though.
Yeah.
I wonder where else it traveled. And
Well, I kind of want to know, but I don't want to have to tell her what other guitars I had to play.
Yeah. Well, I think she would understand. I mean, she was probably fingered by other people while you were. That was probably a bad choice of words. She was
handled. She was handled. I mean,
handled. Yeah. And so you got her back, and that's.
I tour with her right now. Yeah, I got her back.
Wow.
Yeah. Her name's Lindsay, by the way. Okay.
Send us a picture of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Just this tour alone, I feel like every show or city that we've been in has been a really weird and like different weird time in all different regards. But like it's never been boring. It's always been exciting. And this is like a kind of a short tour that we're on. I think we had like 2 weeks and 8 shows, and we've got 3 shows left. Mm-hmm. And so far it's been on a roll. Like we just came from Chicago, where we did a show where we were opening up for one of my buddy's birthday parties, which was a wrestling death match, like a no-ring extreme wrestling death match, where everyone was, bashing each other into doors and smashing light bulbs, like tubes over each other's heads. And like by the end of the night, the floor was just like a glittery sea of broken glass, blood, like pop balloons from the sideshow, and like chunks of apples from like Jeremy juggling and eating apples and spitting them out. And if someone would have walked into that fucking mess, like whoever had to clean that up who wasn't there, is just going to be scratching their head and going like, what the fuck happened here?
That sounds, for some reason to me, and I have nothing to base this on, but that sounds very Chicago to me.
Oh yeah, like maybe that happens there every day, and we were just in town to experience it for a day. I thought of a short one. It's not like that long of a story, but a couple years ago on Halloween, I ended up getting booked for this weird gig in the middle of like nowhere in Iowa with one of my buddies, and we went out there and did this show and stuff, but we ended up staying with a friend who was a tattoo artist, and ended up getting witch nipples tattooed on our elbows on Devil's Night, like the night before Halloween. And so I've got this witch tit right here tattooed on my elbow, and there's one other sideshow performer who has the same one. And we kind of didn't say anything to anyone about it. And I kind of forget that it's there because it's like on your elbows. But I guess the whole point of it is like you can't suck your own witch's nipple. Someone else has to do it.
That's true. Yeah.
Tying into the whole satanic panic thing, we were in some real small conservative town that would have probably like not been happy at all at our satanic Devil's Night witch nipple tattoo rituals that had happened. Maybe some drugs and snakes were involved too, but they don't need to know about that either.
That's great.
That's good. You'll have to send us a picture of your witch nipples.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hey, that's a nice t-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story t-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS hyphen YER WEIRD-STORY, and that'll take you right there.
I mean, you can never own enough clothing.
Well, it's true, Barry. There's t-shirts for the ladies, because they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's 2 different kinds of hoodies, and there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story? Currently, there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of our shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors. All right. Well, those are some great stories from the Cutthroat crew. We appreciate those guys taking guys and gal taking the time off of their tour and off their off day, which is very rare when you're on tour, and we really appreciate them that time and them sharing. And they've been they're a big supporter of the show, and so we really appreciate them. And so if you see the Cutthroat Freak Show coming through your town, you can also follow all of them on Instagram and check them out. Go see them. It's going to be a wild time. So next, we have from last week, my friend Ori come back. Well, not really come back. She was here. We recorded this whenever we first talked to her. She's got some stories about her Halloween experiences there in Southern California.
When I was growing up, my best friend, who I've known for a very long time, but she lived pretty close by to me, and she had this kind of like it was a covered patio in the front of her house, and her family were very into decorating. I mean, every one of her birthday parties was this elaborate theme party. Every detail done, but it was so cool. But so they would make it this elaborate Halloween thing, and we would always come and sometimes be a part of it, and sometimes just pass out candy in front of it or whatever. But those are my greatest memories. It was years and years with her, really, of this. So I kind of feel sad sometimes because I go by and they don't always have it every year, but they do still oftentimes put something on. Yeah, I think if they don't go to a party or something. But
do they still do like go to houses like the kids in your neck of the woods? Do they still go?
Yeah. Everyone goes, but not after dark. Usually it's all happening before dark. There's stragglers after dark, but yeah, for like the hour of dusk. Yeah, all the kids kind of go out and yeah, they go trick-or-treating for sure. We always have people warning about poison things in the I don't I've never found that. Yeah. One of my favorite things about Halloween though is my cousin didn't like chocolate, and I love chocolate, so we would always get the chocolate from his candy bag. So yeah, success. And now I get to eat my son's candies. So that's great.
There you go, even better. So, Mommy's got to check on all of these and make sure they're okay. So. Yeah. Was there where we grew up? When you got past the regular trick or treating age, for some reason that was hard coming out of my mouth. We would have we would basically I guess we just kind of be naughty, we would. We'd go around and we'd shave cream each other, have shave cream fights, and throw eggs at each other. And, it was always, like the tweens and the teens. It wasn't, you didn't attack the little kids because you would get in trouble. Right. You dodged the police, and because they didn't have anything to do on Halloween night because it was, the town of 3,000, so we did all this stuff.
Maybe that happened. I wasn't a cool kid, though. I didn't do that. That sounds way fun, though. Way more fun than our traditions here.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got really sick one year because I got covered with shaving cream. So, but
you got sick from being covered with shaving cream?
Yeah, well, it was cold.
Yeah,
it gets really cold. Yeah, other parts of the world aren't.
Especially when you got menthol shaving cream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not that cold here. We can be slutty cats on Halloween.
Right.
Yeah. Especially when we were younger. Oftentimes, you would have to wear a coat when you were trick or treating. So it would be cool. Yeah.
Aw, we're lucky. Sorry, guys.
That's right. I love the cold. I'm a kind of a polar bear. So.
Yeah. I imagine that's true. Yeah. The one weird thing my friends and I did do in tween years on Halloween was we had a witches party. And so we made a witch's cauldron or stew or whatever. And at the end of it, we all spit into it and then drank it kind of like a blood pact, but way more disgusting.
That's pretty hardcore.
That is hardcore.
That was the one thing we did.
Did you ever do like anything like light as a feather or stiff as a board? Or did it work for you?
I mean, sometimes I felt like it kind of did, but other times not so much. I think it was the quality of the person doing the the spells.
Yeah, I think we've discovered that that's almost purely a little girl's game. That boys never played it. So
really, you guys didn't play that game?
Nope.
Oh yeah,
we knew about it, but we never played it.
Did. I think it's a psychological thing, but I don't think we're actually feeling it. But yeah. Imaginations can be pretty wild, right?
Yeah. Especially when you're young.
Yeah.
What about Bloody Mary?
Oh gosh, yeah. So many years I've spent terrified of my bathroom in the dark because of Bloody Mary. We would do it in like the girls' bathroom at school, and people would just like grab each other when it got dark, and it was just the worst. Yeah, the Bloody Mary. We also had La Llorona, which was a big one.
What was that?
La Llorona. She comes out. She cries for her children who she drowned in a river, and if she finds you, she will drown you in the river.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty morbid. Yeah. Pretty scary. But I grew up terrified of her and chupacabras, which was like this goat devil thing that would eat young children on Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. One year for Halloween. Oh, this was so traumatic. I almost pushed it out of my head. But my cousins, my cousins lived out in a 75-acre farm east of San Diego, and it was so pitch dark black out there and so much fun. I mean, we got into so many things out there. It was just amazing. I loved my time out there. They had these couple decrepit trailers, and in one of them they were caring for my great grandmother who was sick and dying, and so they had taken some of the things out of her trailer and put them into this one of the falling apart trailers and made like they called it the vampire's lair. And so they lured me and my other cousin, who's a year older than me, they lured us into the trailer to see the vampire's lair. And they opened up like this. It was, old chamber pot. And it had like bloody stool in it. And they were like showing us this table that had, and yes, that was from my great grandmother. Disgusting. They're the worst.
Oh God.
And so then they showed us like this table that had all these like cat scratch, like the cats had been using it as like their scratching post, but it just looked so scary and like torn up, and they were like, this is where they sharpen their claws and their teeth and all this stuff. Terrifying us. And this was, after we had probably watched like some X-Files show, and so we were already terrified.
Yeah.
So then they open up this chest and and they told me to climb inside. I don't know why I did, because I was stupid and a sheep. But so I climbed inside the chest and they shut it on me, and it got stuck. It got jammed shut and they couldn't open it. I don't know if they were serious, but they sounded pretty serious and they were panicking. And this is the desert, so it was like 100 degrees outside. It was so hot and I'm like sweating and I'm inside there, like this is probably why I'm claustrophobic, but so I'm like sweating and I'm coming to terms with my demise, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna die in here, and or they're gonna have to feed me through this tiny crack, like they could get a piece of toast with Nutella on it, like please save me. And so finally my uncle comes with like a crowbar and like opens the chest and I get out, but yeah, that was the most terrifying moment of my life, probably. One of the most terrifying moments of my childhood, anyway.
That's great.
that family has traumatized me in quite a few ways. Yeah, they threw a holy blanket, like one of those knitted blankets, over my head while they watched Arachnophobia one night, and I definitely saw the whole movie. I was probably like 5. No wonder I'm arachnophobic as well.
That's great. That's great. If it weren't for our families, who would we be?
Boring people.
Exactly.
With no phobias.
Yeah.
Boring, but yet fearless people.
Yeah. And that's no good.
No, I'm grateful. Great experiences. So funny.
That's great.
Hey Barry.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a goat sucker?
What?
Goat sucker, chupacabra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of those?
I haven't seen one personally, but I've heard about them.
Yeah, me too. If anybody's got a goat sucking story, if you got a goat sucker story, we want to hear it. If you got a Bigfoot story, we want to hear it. If you got a Loch Ness Monster story, or a Lake Champlain story, or Ogo Pogo story, or an Oingo Boingo story. Wait, that was an 80s band. Anyway, you got a weird cryptid story, we want to hear it.
I didn't even know what a cryptid was, man.
Yeah, dude, cryptids. They're like the animals that haven't been necessarily proven by science. They're the ones on the edge. You know, they're not necessarily known animals, but they're known animals. We don't have the bodies or anything like that. So they're kind of like half myth, half story, based in reality, but still in that weird mystery area that we don't know about yet. Cryptids are fun.
Thank you, Ori, for coming back. We appreciate you coming and sharing your Halloween story with us. She's always a blast to have on.
Yeah, and we're happy that you grew up outside of the trunk, that you didn't have to spend your life.
That's right.
In a trunk.
That's right.
But,
which would be pretty scary as a young kid.
It would be very scary,
yeah.
dude. I definitely would freak out. Probably, I would definitely develop claustrophobia from that.
Yeah.
But had she grown up in a trunk, she probably could have toured with our guests with the Cutthroat crew.
That's right.
Girl in the trunk, man.
That's right.
So.
Absolutely. Kind of like the Asian ladies that used to bind their feet, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
You know? Be a different kind of a... I guess that could get dark pretty quick, so I'm going to stop going down that road. Anyway, so we have another past guest, great guy, and he wanted to come on and he wanted to share his Halloween story. And so we got Brandon, and again, we appreciate Brandon coming on, and let's get to his story.
Well, Barry, we were going to, for this Halloween special, we were going to just reuse one of our specifically Halloween-oriented stories that was from when Brandon came on and had all of his stories. But Brandon's had a little bit of development, some really cool stuff develop in his life. So I figured, hey, let's just have him on again. We'll re-record, and then he can also make this announcement that to the world that is really cool.
Cool.
So, Brandon, thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me back.
Tell us what's your weird Halloween story?
Well, it was a few years ago. I was probably in college around the time, so come up on about 13, 14 years ago or so, as best I can remember. Mm-hmm. We had taken my little brother out trick-or-treating, and the way we would do it is we would go to a neighborhood, hit a few houses, then get back in the car, drive to another neighborhood, like that.
Yeah.
And we were going from one neighborhood to another one, and we got to the stoplight. And while we were at the stoplight, I just kind of look over at this house on the corner, and there's obviously a Halloween party going on. You know, they got the front door open, the glass door shut. You can see in, everyone's in costume, and just what looks like a pretty normal looking Halloween party. But then I notice out the bay window, there's what appears to be somebody in a very elaborate costume. Mm-hmm. And I can't even remember exactly what that costume was. It was just very, like I said, at first it looked like a very elaborate costume, but then this very oppressive feeling came over me, and I had this really weird, really kind of startling realization, I guess, that I was looking at something that shouldn't be there. Something that, was not supposed to be seen by human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I could think of was that kind of evil presence that come across is that I don't know what was going on in that house. I don't know if there's something going on other than just an innocent little Halloween party or what they were up to. But I'm convinced that what I saw in that window was the devil. It was just such a heaviness that's the only thing that I convinced that presence could have been.
Wow.
When you saw, like, I get to ask this again, and I haven't had a chance very often, but did it have a discernible shape? I mean, did you see, what could you see in the costume or the being that you did see?
As best I could make out, because I couldn't see a lot of detail, which it contrasted with everything around it, which gave me another clue that this was something that wasn't supposed to be there. But it looked to be wearing like a long cloak or robe, and had a very elaborate headpiece on, or otherwise had a very elaborate antlers or horns coming out of its head. Not like the classic, two horns, devil, curved horns coming up, but just this very elaborate set of what looked like I said, antlers, more like horns, but just something that was very unnatural, something that was very primordial about it. Older than anything else around it. It's from a place that is not of this world.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was weird. That was
that's crazy,
to say the least. Yeah.
Now, the place that the place that you saw this, you said there was a party going on, and I mean, was it? I guess it wasn't a particularly wild party. It wasn't like this wasn't the establishment. This wasn't a satanic church or something like that.
No, which actually, now that you mention it, and this is something that didn't even occur to me around the first time I told the story, but in Goldsboro, there is this house that was rumored to have been the home of not necessarily a satanic cult, but definitely a cult that was up to no good.
Yeah.
It had all of these weird furnishings inside, these mirrors, and doors that led to nowhere supposedly. And people would go by and see hooded and cloaked figures standing out in the yard, just like in a circle, and all kinds of weird stuff went down around that house. It wasn't that house. It wasn't a house like that. It was a perfectly normal, ordinary suburban house on the corner of two streets, at a stoplight. You could see inside the house. Like I said, they had like their main door shut. They just had their screen door or their glass door in front of it closed. So you could see inside the house, like, they were welcoming trick-or-treaters to come up. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary except for this shape, this, thing that was hanging out in the bay window off the side of the house.
Golly, that's freaky.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And I had remembered that while we were talking this time around again, the so-called, cult house, I guess is what it was, how people talked about it. And it was a cool looking old house, and it looked like it would be very, it looked primed to be the backdrop of some kind of gothic horror novel,
Yeah, it actually went up for sale a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they had pictures inside the house, of course, on the real estate website. And the house, I think, was supposedly built in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, around there. And the pictures from inside the house actually look like sets from an old 1970s satanic horror film.
Wow.
I mean, the colors, the shapes, like I said, there were mirrors in odd places. It looked like it had been designed for occult worship. I mean,
yeah, awesome. That would be awesome.
Oh, I totally wanted to go in it and tour it, but you know, also I didn't. So
understandable. I think after that, so. But that's cool. Yeah, man. I had heard people talk about the cult house or whatever they called it when I lived there, but I kind of dismissed it until I actually saw the house, and I still was like, well, I don't know. Maybe there is some, maybe there are people that are practicing magic or something there, but it looked like it. But how people tend to exaggerate their local legends and stuff. That's how they're born. So, man, you'll have to dig around and see if you can find out any more information about that. I wonder if anybody's got any good stories about the Goldsboro.
When I'm at work, I'll Google Goldsboro Satanic House. I'm sure that won't make the IT department panic at all.
Just doing research. That's all.
I'm a librarian. A student asked me about it. What?
Yeah. Well, we've heard some crazy things on this podcast, so it would not be anything out of the ordinary for this to be a not a factual thing, but a thing that a lot of people experience.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon, I had you'll appreciate this. One of my friends that's a teacher was telling me a story about how a new teacher at her school had her kids for a class. I think it was even for an English class. I'm not really sure, but had them, or maybe it was like social studies, but they were researching terrorist organizations, and she was having them go to the library and get on the school computers and Google how to how to join ISIS or how to join, all this stuff. And one of the kids found a number and they called it on their cell phone and left a message.
Oh, wow.
Is that teacher still employed?
I don't know that much of the story, but like, I just, there had to be, so like it goes, I think it goes on from there, but still like,
knowing some of our high school teachers, I could see something like that happen if we lived it back in that time. Sure. If we were back in that time with this technology, that would definitely have happened.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Great.
And I thought the student that come in and asked for books on cocaine was wild. And he's like, I Googled it, and I'm like, no, no, you did this in the wrong order. Come to me first.
Miss Smith told me to.
Wait. Also, you know what? I'm going to back up there, and I'm going to say that them going and Googling it first rather than coming to you first, because that makes it like when you say "come to me first," it makes it sound like maybe you've got the connection.
Yeah,
right. Which you don't. That's last person to ever have any.
Should clarify for information, factual medical information, not information as far as where to find it. No, we don't peddle in that trade.
Knowledge is power, but
that's great.
Well, cool deal, man. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad we got to talk about that again because it did open up some new avenues into that story and into the the weirdness of Goldsboro, which is the place that cooked and brought together fertilized your imagination.
Goldsboro's a weird place if you really get to know it. There's all kinds of folk legends. There's this bench that's right around the corner from where I grew up. Just this random bench on the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. And legend has it that when it rains, there's actually a stream of blood that flows from that bench to the other side of the street. And the origin is supposedly a man was cheating on his wife. And that's where he would meet his mistress.
Oh.
And she ambushed them one day and killed them both.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, Goldsboro's a pretty weird place once you get to know it.
Yeah.
Dude, you're going to have to dig some more on that, too, and come back and share those. And I love hearing that stuff.
Okay.
But another one of the other reasons that we got you on here is to spread further your announcement that you've got this huge thing that's come. So tell us, man.
Well, my first novel has been accepted for publication by Dragon Soul Press.
Fantastic, man.
It's
Congrats.
not the first. Thank you. It's not the first novel that I've written, but I wrote it for National Novel Writing Month a couple of years ago.
Wow.
And have, wanted it to go somewhere, so I submitted it to them, and they liked it. They're going to publish it. The release date, as of now, is not until next October, so it's still a whiles away.
Cool. Well, we'll have you back. For sure.
Okay. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I signed a contract, and they put up an interview with me on their blog.
Wow.
And everything. So just nothing to do now but sit back and wait for it all to happen.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. I know, having known you for so long, that this is like definitely a major accomplishment for you. It's definitely a big, check mark on the things that you wanted to do in your life, and it's just I just know that it's just going to be the first of many. So you will be terrorizing people from years to come.
Yeah.
Here's
and
hope.
Not the normal usual way. A whole other way to terrorize people.
Right.
Well, in a day and age where anyone can get a copy of a quote unquote book that they've written done on the internet, it's quite something to be a published author these days.
Yeah.
It really is, and that is really an amazing thing. We have some really amazing friends. Talented friends that do amazing things, and we've said this before on this podcast, but so we got to support each other and get out there and buy the books and buy the records, buy the zines, buy the publications, whatever it may be. Support the podcasts that we like and the artists that we like and that are friends with. That's a really cool thing. I knew nothing about that, so that's really cool.
Yeah, that was that's fairly recent development. I saw that announcement on the Facebook, and couldn't be happier for you, man. So
thanks.
So cool. So we'll give us a little bit about it. What is the name of the book?
Mr. Haunt.
Mr. Haunt. Okay.
Mr. Haunt. Yes, and it's about basically, anyone who's had depression knows that it really feels like a presence actually following you around, constantly being there. But then, you get to thinking, and the crux of the book is that there is actually this malevolent entity out there that looks for people who are weak, who are suffering, and actually preys on them. Oh. And the book follows a character who is one of Mr. Haunt's victims. He starts in childhood and it follows him into adulthood. And the way the book is written, it jumps back and forth between his childhood and his adulthood. So you see the two different ways that he's tormented by this demon, as a child and as an adult, the different ways he, gets in and attacks him and taunts him and torments him. It was a very personal book to write for a lot of reasons. It was very difficult to write, which is why I'm kind of glad I did it during National Novel Writing Month, where I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but the idea is you pledge to write a novel during the month of November. The idea is that so many people want to write a novel. Well, now's your chance. Just sit your butt down and do it. No excuses. Just for an hour or two each day, pound out a couple of thousand words, reach 50,000 words by the end of November, you've written a novel. Wow. Well, now with that sense of urgency, it made it easier to write because, again, I had a deadline, a self-imposed deadline I was trying to meet. But I will tell you that my wife does my editing work for me before I send something off to be submitted. And it took her a long time to get through it because she's like, this is just very heavy reading.
Right.
And when she got near the end and she could see how it was going to end and, that it wasn't going to be a happy ending, she's like, yeah, no, I'm going to stop for tonight after about, 30 minutes or so. So yeah, it's pretty dark and it's pretty heavy, but I'm proud of it, and I hope that people get something out of it. I try to write stuff that is meaningful, even if it's just the meaning is just that it's entertaining. But, I hope that this has sort of a deeper connection to the people who read it.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
There are not enough people that explore that part of their life, trying to develop an art outlet or a way of pushing the boundaries of their mind. And you saying that, oh yeah, all you gotta do is sit down for a couple hours a day and just pound out couple thousand words. I'm sitting here going, there's no way I could do that. It's just, I don't have that in me. And so I'm always curious when people talk about songwriting or writing books. Authorship in any form is really fascinating to me. And so it's cool. It's really cool. And man, just once again, congratulations. Really, really cool.
Thank you. And it wasn't easy to hit that, 1,000 words. I think 1,667. If you write that many words a day, you'll hit the 50,000 if you write every day during the month of November.
Right.
It wasn't easy to reach that, and it was a very dark process. I mean, I tried to get into the proper mindset of the subject matter, so I watched a lot of music videos from the 90s, listened to a lot of Marilyn Manson, drank a lot of Monster Energy drink.
Right.
Not a recipe for well-rested nights and, clear mind. So,
but sometimes you need a deadline like that. I've worked on lots of projects in the past where if you don't have a freaking deadline, what you do is there's too much time to spin your wheels, and you go in too many different directions. If you have a deadline, that I got to get from point A to point B, and we got to figure it out, and we just got to get in there and we got to pound it out. It's a way to speed up the process a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and that's another thing too behind the spirit of the National Novel Writing Month is to not edit as you write, to just write. Get something to work with. You can always go back and edit it later. You can flesh it out later.
Right.
But, just get over that. This has got to be perfect feeling and just do it. Just put something down.
I think that, that as you just said, that I think that a lot of the problems, a lot of the difficulties why people don't explore their creative side or don't try to get into learning writing or drawing or painting or something like that is because nobody starts off making stuff that is good or perfect, and everybody now expects that it's not worth it if I can't make it perft. If I can't do it right, I can't, then why even bother with it? And that's not how it goes, man. You got to learn how to do it. You've got to, figure it out on your own. And the only way you can do that is by doing, and I'm always telling people, especially like with drawing, I was like, drawing is a muscle. Anybody can draw. Anybody can learn to draw. All you have to do is just do it and do it and do it. And you got to build that muscle up, and then you can draw, and you can, and be able to look and, see what you want to draw, or, and I mean, creativity is a harder thing to, pin down and to teach, how to access and stuff like that. How do you teach creativity? How do you teach inspiration? You can't. But having, the technical side, you can teach. And I think that's enriching to everybody to have a creative outlet of some kind. Yeah. And I think it's very important. That's why I think it's important to continue to have the arts in the public schools, and then have people, to do stuff and encourage them to do stuff, even if it's, like, you know, going to one of those wine and paint type classes or something that they just enjoy doing, and just do it and have fun doing it. You know, don't forget how to have fun, you know, and that's I think our culture has a big problem with that.
We do. And it's also, there's, you know, the people that are, you know, I've developed a snobbery around, you know, art and creativity. I look at people that have an opinion about something, and I consider myself to be one of these people too. You only have an opinion because you failed a bunch of times, and you know what works for yourself. I'm not talking about criticizing other people's art. That's a whole other thing, but you have to be willing to fail, and you have to be open to learning and understanding that the thing that you do is not going to be the best thing that you do, but the reward is the chase that it takes to get you to the next point. And then at some point in your creative career in your life, you can look back and you can say, wow, I've really grown. If I look back at my art that, you know, I was doing 25 years ago and compared to now, there is a noticeable difference in that. Hopefully it's gotten better, or else why would you be doing something, you know, creative?
Yeah. In writing, there's this idea I've come across before called a million words of crap. Now, it's not meant to be taken literally, obviously, but the idea is that, you know, you're going to write so many words that just are not very good.
Right.
You're going to write stories that just aren't good. You're going to write a book that just isn't good. But then eventually you'll figure it out, and you'll start to turn around, and your stuff will get better.
Right.
And it'll continue to get better.
Yeah.
And eventually the people want to pay you for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, you're going to have to get over that hump first.
And not being married to ideas from a songwriter standpoint, you know, because that's the sort of the angle that I view life in, because that's the thing I connect with most. But you'll find that as a younger creative type person, every idea you have is gold because you've never had an idea like that before. And so you're like, oh my God, you cannot touch this idea because it's my life's work, you know? But as time goes on and you learn how to critique yourself and take criticism, you start to understand that this may not be my best work. So, you know, maybe the next time I have a shot at it, I do it a little bit better. I do it a little bit different. But that should not persuade you from pursuing and continuing to pursue. You know, and I think that we've had that idea with this podcast, even where in the beginning it was like, okay, are we going for perfection here? Or are we just kind of going for let's get it going? And that was kind of the basis that we went off of. It's good enough for now.
Yeah.
And it'll get better. And hopefully it gets better. Or if it doesn't get better, then we got problems. But but if you take anything seriously enough, I think you put time and effort into it, there should be a reward, even if it's just personal. Even if nobody ever reads or listens to or looks at your art, you know what time and effort you put in. Yeah.
And there is the thrill of outside validation, but you know, it really, as long it is your personal validation that makes it, you know, of course, also, you know, creative people tend to be their worst critics. So there's that side of it too.
Yes.
Yeah. But bringing it all back around.
Yeah. It's just a cool subject.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but dude, it's congratulations, you know, that's really awesome, and I'm really proud of you and really happy for you. So
thank you.
We'll get, when it's good, when it's out there, when it's in print and getting ready to drop, we'll have to have you come back on and we'll chat about it, you know, or whatever. You know, hopefully you'll have some more weird stories and more weird experiences too.
Oh, I'm sure. So, I do work at a high school.
Yeah.
Roll the dice every time I have to do a bathroom check. Yeah.
Barry, what do you think that people find the most far-fetched? Ghost stories or aliens as being the more unbelievable?
I would say aliens.
I would agree with that probably too, because I think with Ghost, there's a part of the belief system that is abound throughout the world, and we want to have some kind of assurance of some form of life after death.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with aliens, it's unknown for sure. It's completely unknown. We have only our imagination. We don't have a lot of universal stories that we agree upon that these things exist, maybe.
To believe in aliens is to believe that we are not the sole existence of this world, which goes against a lot of belief systems.
It definitely does. But the great thing about what we're doing here is we are open to all your stories about ghosts or aliens or anything in between or anything outside of. We're not here to judge. We're here to just talk and to share. And we don't want you to think you're crazy, because you're not. This was such a fun episode, one that we've been looking forward to, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as well. And we know it was kind of a long and meandering one, but this is more, I guess it's more intimate because it is just as it happens a lot,
Well, hopefully people have some time to drive their car somewhere on a road trip, and or to and from work, and just something to enjoy, something for a little bit of spook, a little bit of spice. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, and again, we got to say thank you to everyone that wanted to participate.
Yes.
If it weren't for their stories and people wanting to be on and share with us, we wouldn't be able to do this kind of stuff. So it's great. I mean, they're really the ones that make the show, and we just kind of we get to add the little salt and pepper, the little spice.
Yeah, we really appreciate everybody, not just for this show being on this episode, but all the episodes, and everybody for listening and supporting. And spreading the word, and we really, we say it all the time, but we obviously we can't do it without you guys, and we can't do it without you. So your support, and we can't do it without your stories. And so we look forward to hearing all of your stories, and we want to make it happen. We'll get it to happen. Sometimes it may take a little longer than others, but we'll make it happen. We'll see it through. So if you got a story to share, and we know you do, or you got some friends or family members who's had some stories, who share stories and should be on here, get them in contact with us. We'll make it happen. And we'll hope that you all have a safe and happy, fun Halloween. And get lots of good candies, and make sure you get all the make sure you don't have any needles and knives and razor blades inside. Save all, if you find any that are drugged, save them for take them from the kids, and give them to your sibling or your uncle or whoever it is that has enjoys that kind of a thing.
The crazy uncle, the fun uncle.
Yeah. If you're
why is Uncle Dave always so happy? Because he's fucking high all the time. Okay,
he's full of life. Uncle Dave's full of life. So anyway. Happy Halloween, guys. We'll see you next week with my buddy Hammer, who's got some really great stories to share. And we will see you then. So in the meantime, be safe.
Be weird.
Ooh. Ghost sounds. That was a ghost. As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Till next time, be safe.
Be weird.
The stories presented on the What's Your Weird Story podcast